Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined all the way from the Robservatory, writer, director, producer, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
I am doing fine and dandy. I think I'm gonna have to go see Predator Badlands again, John. Again.
Yeah, I've got to get around to seeing that 2 or 3 more times. I'm definitely gonna have to go see it a few more times. And by the way, we're going to talk about Predator Badlands in just a little bit. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to come and join us on this show where we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, all that good stuff. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off just by talking about a few topics that we've got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, here on Fridays, we give Jonathan the day off, and so I take questions on the Friday shows via the Super Chat feature. So if you're here watching live with us, and you've got to be watching live, you can send in a topic or a question or an issue using the Super Chat feature in the live chat. And as long as it's appropriate for me to address here on the show, we'll address it and answer it in the second half of the show. All right. Little bit of housekeeping before we get on to anything else. As I've been letting you guys know, the next leg of the movie meetups. I think we've already done 11 cities, 11, 12, or 13 cities. Anyway, we're adding 3 more cities in the next leg, all coming up in the next couple of weeks. And they are starting in Dallas, Texas. On Tuesday, November the 18th, I'm going to be at the Cinemark Dallas XD and IMAX for a 6:55 screening of The Running Man. Then the very next day, I'm going to be in Austin, Texas. Ann and I will be in Austin, Texas on Wednesday, November 19th at the Galaxy Theater in Austin, Texas for the 7:20 screening of Now You See Me, Now You Don't. And then on Monday, November the 24th, we're going to be in Orlando, Florida at the AMC Disney Springs for the 6:30 p.m. screening of Wicked for Good. Now, if you'd like to attend one of these movie meetups, it's simple. Just go to the websites of any of these movie theaters we just listed, buy yourself tickets for that screening of the movie, and then we'll all watch the movie together. And then afterwards, I'll hang out for an hour or two in front of the theater, just meeting and greeting and taking pictures with people. If you decide to come down, you guys get a chance to meet your fellow film fans as well. And I really look forward to meeting all you guys in Dallas, in Austin, and in Orlando, Florida. And I got to tell you, I am shocked, Rob, how fast the tickets are selling in all of them. They're selling fast. So if you want to come to one of these things, guys, just go to one of those websites and pick up your ticket. All right. With that down, guys, let's get on to our first topic here today, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. Well, you know, we reviewed Predator Badlands the other day. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Like I said, I don't think it's going to end up in my top 5 favorite films of the year, but I had an absolute blast watching it. And the critics agree. Because as of right now, Predator Badlands is holding an 86% with pretty much all the reviews now in. So the critics have been liking it. But here's the key thing. It's not just the critics who are liking it. I don't know if you guys noticed there, but the audience rating on Predator Badlands, the audience rating is at 96%. And that audience rating makes Predator Badlands the highest audience rated Predator film of all time. Yes, including the original Arnold film. Yes, including Predator Killer of Killers. As we run down the list, what we see here is that if you go all the way back to the first one, Predator, the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, 87% audience score. Predator 2, not as good, 44%. Alien versus Predator, 39%. Alien versus Predator Requiem, a movie I still hold I get a kick out of. I'm not going to defend it and say it's a good film. I'm just saying I get a kick out of that movie. Anyway, Alien versus Predator Requiem is the lowest audience score, 1 at 30%. The Predator, which we all had so much high hopes for, that ended up getting 32%. Prey got a 75, deserves better. That movie's great. Then, of course, Predator Killer of Killers coming out with 88%. And then Predator Badlands, the brand new one, by far And once again, I like to highlight this when we're talking about these movies. These are verified audience scores, which means these are people who are verified actually saw the film. Not people who are just like, well, I'm excited about Predator Badlands, so I'm going to go give it a 10 out of 10, even though I haven't seen it yet. No. These are verified people who have verifiedly seen the film. And it's got a 96%, again, by far making it the highest, rated, audience rated one they've done so far. And listen, I got to tell you, I am not surprised. Like, sometimes these scores come out and they're lower than I thought, or they're higher than I think they would be. But with Predator Badlands, I am not surprised in the least. It is such a crowd-pleasing movie. Like, right from the beginning, it starts off with fun, it ends with fun, and is stuffed with a lot of fun in between. With some great, performances, some really good one-liners like a good Predator movie should have. Terrific action, loads of violence. It just went pillar to post, like all out. And again, is it going to win any Oscars? No. But it's just that when I walked out of the film, Rob, I got to tell you, I was smiling. We did our full review yesterday. I'm not going to relitigate the whole review. But like I told you, I was grinning like an idiot, ear to ear. I had such a blast with it. And listen, again, I came out and I remember talking to Ann, it's like, oh, what are the fans going to think about it? And I'm like, a lot of times I'll see, like, even a movie like Dune, Rob, that I love and I think is one of the better films, ever made. But even that's a film I go, but it's not going to be for everybody. I mean, it's kind of this, it's kind of this. So, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But, coming out of Baz, I'm like, I just don't know who isn't going to like this. I mean, obviously, film is subjective. Not everybody's going to like everything, of course, obvious. But I'm just saying, like, unlike even masterpieces like Dune, where I go, yeah, but this one's not for everybody. I just came out thinking, I think generally everybody's going to love this. 96% audience rating, again, by far the biggest they've ever had. Rob, are you surprised to see that number? Not surprised? And what do you think contributed to it?
Well, like you said, I mean, when I saw this movie, what you just said, it was so much fun to watch. I sat there and moment to moment, it just delivered the fun. And, it really reminded me, it's interesting. It's more, I was thinking about this yesterday because there's a lot of people that they just wanted something else. And this is an adventure movie. This reminded me of when I was reading Edgar Rice Burroughs novels, that the John Carter novels, or Tarzan, or old Conan, Robert E. Howard Conan novels. I mean, it's totally in that vein. I mean, it's more along the lines of a Raiders of the Lost Ark than it is the first Predator. And I was there for that. I mean, I've seen the first Predator. I've seen the second Predator. I've seen Predators. I had so much fun with this movie because it was a total throwback to movies I liked when I was a kid, like The Land and the People That Time Forgot, or Island at the Top of the World. It had that vibe where and it had the sidekick, it had the crazy animal you meet on the way, like Woola the dog and John Carter. And, it just had all this stuff that I particularly loved put together. And it was fantastic. It was just fun. It delivered what it was supposed to do, and it succeeded in doing what Dan Trachtenberg set out to do, which was make a sci-fi adventure. And that's what I got. And it was great.
Sometimes we see movies, though, Rob, that like we'll love, and it just doesn't kind of get the respect that we feel it deserves. Again, all film is subjective. Everybody's opinion is valid. I'm just saying, sometimes, Rob, you and I see a film, we're like, why didn't more people like this? What do you think it was about this particular movie that was able, again, a 96, that just seemed to be able to, tickle that spot for more viewers than, say, a lot of other films do?
You know what I think? This movie was consistently interesting.
Yeah.
It never went in the direction, like the whole opening 10 minutes is going this one direction, and something unexpected happens in those 10 minutes where you're like, oh my God. And once this thing happens, then all bets are off, and then as it went along, it kept giving me things that I didn't expect. And that's what made it fun. Like I said yesterday on the show, just the world they created. Like every flower that could kill you, or every creature. Like there's that one quick, the scene in in Phantom Menace, there's always a bigger fish.
Yep.
They had a quick scene of that, like the ecosystem of this planet. Like here's a little thing, and then the bigger thing eats it, and the bigger thing eats it. It just goes up that food chain. And it was just a throwaway gag, but I'm like, okay, it put a smile on my face. And I was just enjoying all of this. It made me feel like I was a kid. Like it gave me that sense of fun and wonder and look, is this the hardcore movie that the first Predator is with those military guys? No, the tone of it's totally different, but it's trying to do a totally different kind of thing. I mean, the first Predator is a slasher movie mixed with the most dangerous game, mixed with, alien technology and this advanced, very dangerous creature. But Predator Badlands is just what it says. You're going into the Badlands. It's an adventure movie. It's not one man against an opposing, a more advanced force that is going to be very hard to surmount. I mean, this man's on the Yautja is on a quest. He's on a quest. He's not. It's a whole
here's the thing,
different vibe.
And the Yautja, the Predator, is the underdog.
Right.
In this one. So here's another question for you then. One of the things we were talking about heading into the movie was, the projections were started saying 25 million opening weekend. Do you think with such strong reviews, and there is strong word of mouth, is that going to be enough to bump up that opening weekend a little bit? Like, where do you see the opening weekend coming in for this?
You know what? I was hoping to get a sense of that by finding out how much it did in previews last night.
On the preview Thursdays, right? Haven't seen those numbers yet.
Haven't seen the numbers yet. And look, I would hope so, because I think the movie deserves it. And I think, again, what they've been doing at Fox with these franchises. I mean, you liked Alien Romulus more than me, but a lot of people loved Romulus. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was great. I've really liked what they've done with Prey and Killer of Killers and now this film. So I think that they're handling these franchises in a respectable manner, and they're giving them to filmmakers that really care and that are trying to do something a little different. And I respect that, and I'd like to see it succeed. And so we can get more of them.
Question
I want
is
to
for
see
you.
the movie that. Oh, sorry. I just want to say I want to see the movie that follows this one.
Yeah, so do I. All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? It's now verified and confirmed. Predator Badlands, and it's not saying that Predator Badlands is the best Predator movie of all time, but it has the highest audience scores of any Predator movie ever. One of the highest audience scores of any film of the year, up at 96% right now. What do you think about that? Have you had a chance to see the film yet? If so, what were your thoughts? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Well, the other day on the show, we talked about this report that came out that said Millie Bobby Brown, before the filming of Stranger Things Season 5, which of course they started filming like a year and a half ago, had filed a complaint with the studio that she was being bullied by David Harbour. Now, you guys remember that we then talked about this on the show, and we said, well, there's really one of four options here. Either David Harbour is being a jerk to kids, or Millie Bobby Brown is being a young Hollywood success story that just doesn't like not being treated like a princess like many other actors and actresses sometimes do. 3, maybe the report is totally wrong. Or 4, maybe this is one of those things where, hey, maybe they did butt heads, but it came to nothing and everybody just moved on. Well, it looks like maybe it's not 1 or 2, because David Harbour and Millie Bobby Brown, as I said, even before the report came out, we pointed out they've been going around promoting season 5 together, and everything looks pretty good. But now the Duffer Brothers and Sean Levy, all the producers and the directors of Stranger Things, they've chimed in on it and given us a little bit more clarity. Here's what they said. This is coming to us from the folks over at THR, the Hollywood Reporter, who said, when asked about the bullying claims on the red carpet, co-creator Ross Duffer told the Hollywood Reporter while standing next to his brother, Matt Duffer, obviously, you understand I can't get into personal on-set matters, but I will say that we've been doing this for 10 years with this cast, and at some point their family and we deeply care about them. So nothing matters more than just having a set where everybody feels safe and happy. The Hollywood Reporter then asked Stranger Things director Sean Levy how production handles a bullying complaint on set and makes sure everybody feels safe and respected. He said, "I've read a bunch of stories and they range from wildly inaccurate to there's just so much noise around it." All right. This is just me doing some interpretation, okay? This is me doing some interpretation. But when asked about the complaint, do you notice neither the Duffers nor Sean Levy said nothing ever happened, right? Neither of them said nothing ever happened. They said, hey, look, we've been doing this for 10 years. Everybody on this set is a family. My takeaway from that, and again, this is just me interpreting. I could be right. I could be wrong. My takeaway from that is, yeah, it's at some point during season 3 or 4, they had a spat and we all moved on. They had a spat because listen, Rob, as well, if not better than anybody, that the sets of movies and TV shows are not calm, sterile, low-key environments. They are high pressure, high energy, high artistic environments where people are going to butt heads, especially artists, man. Creators and artists, like actors, they will, don't even get me going. But it's like, one of the things I said, Rob, during the show before when we were covering the story is that I can't help but wonder if maybe part of this is just that, yeah, they blew up at each other one day on set and then everybody moved on and they just moved on from it. By the way, this picture was taken last night. This is them on the red carpet of Stranger Things season 5. And I'm going to go over to this as well, but here's a video of the two of them on the red carpet, hanging out and chatting and talking and, all that kind of stuff. Now, lest anybody says, well, they were just doing damage control. Remember, they were doing promotion for this season prior to that report coming out.
Yeah.
Right. So, Rob, I don't think it was nothing, or else the Duffers and Sean Levy would have said, yeah, that report is totally BS. Instead, their response was, hey, everybody on our set's a family. We want to encourage a safe. So that tells you, this is, again, I could be way wrong. This tells me, hey, these are two artists who have been working together for, at that point, like 8 years, and then probably had a butting of heads, like every set everywhere does, and then ultimately nothing came of it and everybody's cool. That's at least the way I'm interpreting it, Rob. You're seeing all this. You've heard what the Duffers now said. You saw the footage from last night. Anyway, what's your takeaway from it?
I think you're right. I mean, I think, look, as I've heard from people, I hear this all the time, HR gets a lot more phone calls on sets today than they used to, say, 10 years ago. There's a lot of sensitivity that you have to be made aware of, and you've got generational issues between young actors coming up and veteran actors who are more used to, say, a more prickly attitude on set where people can gently rib each other or really tear into each other, because that's just kind of part of what happens, rightly or wrongly. And I think it could have been something like that. And I think you're right. I think that the report was made. Millie Bobby Brown probably got angry, and maybe it's her manager or agent who did the reporting. Who knows? But they got past it. I mean, especially, John, when you're working for this long, you get to know each other really well. Like siblings can squabble, parents can squabble. And I'm sure it was something more along the lines of that, because if it was anything more serious, the word bullying, and everybody was careful to say, but there was no inappropriate sexual things or whatever. I mean, it was bullying could mean a lot of different things. And if somebody gets their knickers in a twist or something, and I'm glad to see it everybody seems to have gotten past it. By the way, did you watch the first 5 minutes?
I did not. I purposely decided to not watch the first 5 minutes. But I'm going to say this too, is that it needs to be remembered. Two very important things I see a lot of people forgetting that needs to be remembered. Number one, this report isn't something that happened recently. This was a report that they're saying got made like a year and a half ago. Number two, it was not Millie Bobby Brown or David Harbour that told anybody this. This was like settled like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And filed away. And then all of a sudden just now comes out. And so, yeah, I mean, it's looking more and more to me like with the Duffers not denying that anything happened at all. It seems like, because Rob, listen, I'll tell you this, you know, me and Christian Harloff, you know, we've always worked together great. We get along great. I was just talking to him actually like 2 days ago, as a matter of fact. But, you know, when we would sit in creative meetings, sometimes we would do this. And sometimes we get a little, he's like, what are you talking about? Blah, 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 blah. You know, we'd have it out. And then when the meeting's done, it's like, okay, cool. Want to go grab lunch? And then we go grab lunch, right? And so like that kind of stuff can happen. So I have no doubt. I would be shocked, Rob, if on any creative set, especially one that has lasted for 10 years, if you ever try to pass off the idea that nobody had any problems with each other ever, that's fiction. It would be a bold-faced lie. I wouldn't buy that for a second. Yeah. But it sounds like this was, hey, they probably had a clash and then everybody got over it. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, does this kind of settle all this now and put this to rest about the whole thing that was going on? I don't know. Whatever you guys interpret from this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Last night, the new creator of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Gillian, launched his new show on Apple TV Plus that has had terrible trailers. I said it. I stand by it. The trailers have been terrible. But I've had little doubt the show would be good. But Pluribus, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, you did.
Launched last night on Apple TV Plus. As a matter of fact, I was at the LA Kings game. Me and Ann were at the Kings game last night. And I got a text from our business guy saying, oh my God, the Apple servers just crashed. So apparently a lot of people were trying to jump on board to see this new. I mean, obviously it's the new show from the creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul with one of the stars of Better Call Saul. So I sat down once we got home from the Kings game and I watched the first 2 episodes. And here's what I'm going to say about it. I think this show is off to a really interesting start. I see some people go around, this is one of the best hours of television I've seen in a long time. I think people are just saying that because they've got a, you know, Gilligan hard on. But it's quite good. And it's super fascinating. And like, obviously you guys know from the trailers, you know that something has gone awry with the world, right? Where everybody seems to be in this rather hypnotic, happy trance. Like everybody's happy. And there's just, Carol, we just want to make you happy. Where from the trailers, it looks like Carol is the one person in the world who's not under whatever this trance is, right? From the trailers, we don't know. Now that we've seen the show, we know. And for me, it raises some really interesting questions. Like they go through the whole how the world got to be that way in episode 1. And it's kind of your stereotypical opening to Contagion or your stereotypical opening to Outbreak or whatever, right? We've seen that before. Although what specifically is happening is very different than those other things I just referenced. But still, it's nothing we haven't seen before, right? But then what it is, again, like I said, for me, the best part about the show is it continuously raised really big philosophical questions that then once you get into episode 2, the show itself starts to ask those questions that you were wondering about in your head through the first episode and a little bit of the beginning of the second. The show itself starts to put those questions on platters and hold them up. It's like, what would you do in this scenario? How do you think the world would actually function if this happened? And were there a bunch of people who were like this? Would this cause problems? Again, I'm trying to stay really vague. I'll tell you what, the thing that really carries it so far is, I forget the actress's name, but the girl from Better Call Saul, who's the lead in the show, Seagate, I forget her name, but oh my God. Like, everybody knew she was Rhea Seehorn. Everybody knew from Better Call Saul that she's great. Listen, it's way early. She's got to, just from the first 2 episodes, be in some Emmy conversations. She's got to. She's phenomenal. Like, all the performances across the board were wonderful, but like, this show is firmly and squarely on her shoulders to carry. And she was fantastic in these first 2 episodes, like, just utterly incredible. And so it's her emotion and stuff like that that really brings you along for the journey. The whole thing's really kind of being told through her eyes. And I just thought it was really a huge accomplishment. Now, look, am I going to sit here right now and say that I think Pluribus is one of the best shows of the year? No, I'm not going to say that yet. What I am going to say is this show is off to a really solid start. And my favorite word to use with a good show is interesting. This is an interesting start to this show that has me wondering out loud, even, where are they going to go with this? The characters are really intriguing. By the way, the guy, I'm not going to give away who he is. The guy sitting in the chair is a wildly cool character. Like, I'm fascinated by the character, and I'm really interested to see what they do and what else they do, if anything, moving forward. But I thought he was really good. Anyway, Rob, I know you did not have a chance to watch all the first 2 episodes. Right. You just got started. What's been your impressions of it so far?
Now, the first thing, I love Vince Gilligan. I loved him all the way back with his work on the X-Files. Of course, I love Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. But here's the thing about this show that, like you said, it has a really intriguing premise. But like a show like Manifest, this outlandish thing happens to the world. And I wonder, do they know why this happened? You know, because there's movies like, or based on the Dome, for instance, based on a Stephen King novel. That was a show that got off to a really interesting start, and then it just kind of fell off a little bit. Yeah, and also even the book, the ending was terrible. When you figure out what's going on, it's like, what? So this movie has a really intriguing premise, and I think it's going to speak to a lot of people that watch it, because I think that the main character is her attitude is kind of, I think, what a lot of people think. I mean, the premise really works, and this strange thing that's happened to the world and the things that start to happen to her are really, like, I love this kind of stuff. I eat it up, and I know that they've only released 7 of the full episodes for critics to review, but I'm totally locked into this story, because in a way, you know, I sort of wander around half in a dream state sometimes when I'm just wandering around or walking the dogs, and I'm pondering, like, what would happen if this is sort of a great, like, this really strange thing happens to the world, and she's the only one, seemingly the only one, that is affected or not affected by this change. And it's just, you can't stop watching. The only reason I stopped is because it was like 3 a.m. and I had forgotten it was on, and I just dipped in, and I'm like, I've got to go to bed. I got to get up and do the show tomorrow. And I was really tired, but it was so intriguing. As soon as I get off this show, I'm going to watch the rest. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm now actually really excited to see where it goes, and maybe but here's the problem, Rob. Sometimes with shows like this, let's look at Lost.
Oh, I know.
You set up for years this great premise, and then it's like, wait, that's what this was all about?
Yeah, and I call that the impossible premise. You know, it's because it's impossible to pay off.
Yeah.
Like Manifest was glorious gobbledygook. You knew from that pilot, I'm like, they don't know how this is going to end. They've set up this ridiculous premise that's really cool, but they don't know where it's going to go. That was totally true of Lost. You know, and the thing is, we think they know where it's going to go, so we're gobbling it up. And by the time you get to the final season of Lost, like you just said, like, really? Really? This is what we were all saying in the beginning, and you didn't have an ending, so you just went with it. And that's what's disappointing. However, it's Vince Gilligan, and he knew where he was going to take Breaking Bad, and he knew where he was going to take Better Call Saul.
And he knows where he's taking this.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
That's why I'm excited.
All right, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to see the first couple of episodes of Pluribus? By the way, a Latin term that means many. Did you have a chance to see the first 2 episodes? Apparently, a lot of people did because the Apple servers crashed for a little while. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think it's one of the best things on television in the last couple of years, but man, it's off to a solid start and a fascinating start. And I'm really curious to see where this is going to go. Whatever you guys thought about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, Zach Cregger is one of the most exciting filmmakers out there right now. He did Barbarian. He did Weapons, which is one of the year's best films. And, you know, everybody's got their eyes on what's he going to do. I think he's doing an Evil Dead movie?
He's doing Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. Not Evil Dead. Resident Evil. He's working on. And then what's coming after that? Well, apparently he's been working on this film called The Flood. He's working on this screenplay for The Flood. And Netflix is really interested in it. But according to a new report coming out of the Wrap, he's saying no, unless Netflix gives him a theatrical commitment, and they're not willing to do that. Now he may not do it. This comes to us from the folks over at the Wrap who wrote the following. The next film from Weapons filmmaker Zach Cregger, sci-fi original The Flood, has stalled at Netflix over the streamer's refusal to give the movie a theatrical release. Now, how did it come to this? It explains. Cregger wrote the original film at Amblin Entertainment under the studio's deal with Netflix. And after Weapons blew up this summer, making $267 million worldwide, Netflix tried to get Cregger's commitment to make his film with Netflix. But Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos later shot down the prospect of a theatrical release for The Flood, and with Cregger adamant that he wants to make the movie for theaters. The real question is whether Netflix backs down or they let Cregger take it out to another studio, because Zach remains committed to a theatrical release. All right. So to kind of unwind this whole thing, Cregger wrote the film for Amblin. Amblin's got a deal with Netflix that apparently has some kind of first look deal with Netflix. Netflix saw what he wrote, loved it, and they do want to make this movie if Cregger's going to make it for them. So one of the executives from Netflix went to Cregger, tried to court him, and even floated the idea of a theatrical release in front of him. To which Cregger was like, okay, let's keep talking. And it was later, the report says, that Ted Sarandos stepped in and said, no theatrical release for you, is apparently what Sarandos said. And now the reports are saying Cregger is kind of digging in, saying, then I don't want to make a movie with you if it's not going to be theatrical. Rob, when you look at the films that Cregger has done, they got a presence, they got a foothold because they played in theaters.
Yeah.
And he knows it. And that's where his love is. I remember he spoke on stage at CinemaCon.
Yep.
And he's so passionate about films. He's passionate about the theatrical experience. He's passionate about movie going, and he's passionate about that's where he wants his movies to be seen. So this isn't one of those situations where he signed a deal with Netflix and then was like, wait a minute, Netflix, you don't want to put it in theaters? No. He wrote it for somebody else. Through the winding path of rights and licenses, Netflix has the first rights on it. They want to make it, and they want to make it with him because he's the guy who did Weapons. He's saying, unless you give me a theatrical, which they initially kind of suggested they might be willing to give him theatrical, he's saying, I'm not interested. Rob, do you think that Netflix maybe bends a little bit on this and maybe gives him something that he wants? Or do we expect to see this movie get made elsewhere? What do you think?
Well, the one thing is, I think you actually pointed out that Zach Cregger's strength is playing to the audience. I mean, Weapons, I can't imagine. I saw it in a theater with a lot of people. I can't imagine that it would have been nearly as fun seeing it by myself.
Yeah.
And the same was true of Barbarian. And let me tell you this movie, The Flood, is something that I would like to call Zach Cregger's space movie. That's all I'm going to say. I want to see this movie in a theater. I know I want to see this movie in a theater for various reasons you might guess at. But I really hope that this movie makes it into a theater, because this movie is designed to be seen with an audience going, "Oh my God." That's all I can tell you. And for them to not put this in a theater, I don't get it, man. I mean, I don't even understand why don't they just let Apple took F1 to Warner Brothers to distribute. Why doesn't Netflix make a deal with a studio to distribute their movies for them theatrically if they just don't care? And then the studio will be like, "Hey, guess what? Your movie made $200 million. Here's $200 million." And they don't even have to worry about it. And then they put it up on their streamer, and they get the value added from a great theatrical release promoted by a motion picture studio who will take 25%. I don't get it. I don't get why Netflix is so adamantly really opposed to going theatrical when every metric tells us that if a movie is successful theatrically, I mean, John,
even if it's not successful theatrically, the fact that it got theatrical first boosts its debut on streaming.
I mean, Barbarian was a $4.5 million movie. First of all, Netflix doesn't even know how to make a movie for $4.5 million at that budget level, and it made over $40 million domestically. That's a hit. Weapons, a $38 million movie without marketing, makes over $250 million worldwide. Zach Cregger is a theatrical director. Now, look, I don't know, maybe they expect everybody to be like David Fincher. You know, Netflix makes his passion project. His father wrote Mank, and now David Fincher's locked into doing Netflix movies. I get it. I understand. But Zach Cregger doesn't have to do that. And he's understood. He's made 2 movies in his life, and both were wildly successful at the box office based on their budget. Why would you want to just make a movie for a streamer now when your career's ascendant? You know, it's and it just, all I can say is that The Flood is a movie that demands to be seen in a theater with a bunch of people.
And look, I'm just going to throw this out there too. Like I get Netflix's number one responsibility is about doing what's best for Netflix.
Yeah.
But the point, Rob, that you and I continue to make is, okay, Netflix, here's the thing. This is data. This is proven, okay? It's not a question anymore. This is pure data that has shown us this. Let's say he makes this movie for you and you drop it on Netflix and it gets 12 million views in the first 24 hours. Okay. The data tells us that if you put this movie in a theatrical run first and then you put it on Netflix, well, your first weekend on Netflix isn't going to get 12 million views in the first 24 hours. It's going to get 30 million views in the first 24 hours. Like, so if you're Netflix, the best thing to do for Netflix is, I'm not even asking them to be benevolent and like to do what's best for the movie industry as a whole. I'm not asking them to do that. Do what's best for Netflix. What is best for Netflix is to make a film with this guy, give it a theatrical run, and then put it on Netflix later, and Netflix will get more success from it. And that's the part, I know we keep saying that part over and over again, Rob, but I just don't know why Ted Sarandos isn't getting it.
And then they get the money back that they spent on the movie.
Yeah.
Like
right away they make their money back.
I don't get the idea that, look, they'll spend $450 million to make 2 more Knives Out movies. The first Knives Out movie made over $300 million theatrically. If you're spending $450 million to make 2 movies, why not, if the opportunity exists, if they put a Glass Onion in theaters and made it a worldwide release, building on the success of Knives Out, that movie might have made $500 million worldwide. Netflix covers the budgets of both movies, and they have the theatrical presence, and more people would watch Glass Onion. I don't understand the thinking at all. They're just adamantly against theatrical for whatever reason. They don't like it. They don't want it. I don't get it.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I applaud Zach Cregger for like digging in his heels and saying, no, my movies are for theaters. And if you want a piece of it, agree to make it for theaters. And it's not like he's asking Netflix to stab themselves in the leg. This would be good for Netflix. I don't know. I hope he holds his ground on this. But the question is for you guys, what do you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? I cannot even begin to tell you how excited I am to see the new Glenn Powell film directed by the great Edgar Wright, the new The Running Man. Now, a little bit of background again, just to reiterate this, like we got our first glimpse of this at CinemaCon where they did this presentation for it. And all of us, like me, Rob, everybody was with us, everybody who was in that 5,000 seat theater were like, oh my God, this looks amazing. It looks so good. And now the first reactions have now come out. And Rob, they're all kinds of glorious.
Yes.
Literally, the word glorious was used a couple of times. Let's go over and take a look at some of the first reactions that have now come out from the debut of The Running Man. Bob Goochman writes, happy to report that Edgar Wright's The Running Man has a heavy dose of Verhoeven-flavored camp and satire, which is the best thing I could hear in this.
Yep.
A big, loud movie led by a physical Glenn Powell performance that lets him flex his leading man charisma in new ways. Can't wait to talk about it more. Next up, we got Drew Taylor wrote, The Running Man rules. Edgar Wright unleashes superb set pieces, mixing Verhoeven-style satire, sly social commentary, and high-stakes thrills. Best of all, it's anchored by a great emotionally resonant performance by Glenn Powell as an everyman pushed too far, run, don't walk. The Distracted wrote, The Running Man feels all too timely, but at least it's having fun satirizing society. Glenn Powell makes for an excellent action hero, and I look forward to the discourse I am certain that the final act will give birth to, one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations in recent years. Adam Kahn wrote, the UK premiere night here in London and a special screening in IMAX for The Running Man. I had an absolute blast with Running Man. It's relentless. I never really had time to breathe in a good way. Has that wonderful right touch to it, even if it's not his best film. I would be shocked if it was his best film because Edgar Wright's got some bangers. Rachel Leichman wrote, The Running Man was everything I wanted it to be and so much more. Action-packed, emotional, and a star vehicle for Glenn Powell. Edgar Wright really bottled magic with Stephen King's novel, and this is going to be an instant classic. It just fucking rules, man. She wrote, Joe Blow, one of my favorite sites, wrote, our man, Jimmy to the O, who you guys might know, Jimmy O has been on a few of our shows back in the Movie Talk days, saw The Running Man. Running Man features Glenn Powell in a performance that only continues to prove what the actor is capable of. Edgar Wright takes a slightly different approach taking on action film than it's vastly different from Arnold's turn. Film and Empire writes, The Running Man is glorious, a brilliantly old-school blockbuster, fast-paced, action-packed, yet character-driven, with chaotic energy reminiscent of Scott Pilgrim. Glenn Powell burns up the screen, angry, masculine, funny, and with proper film star charisma. I loved it. Our friend Perry Nemiroff saw it. She wrote, what a year for Stephen King adaptations. The Life of Chuck, The Long Walk, Welcome to Darien. Now, The Running Man is also fantastic. I enjoyed the 87-minute film, but I was real eager to see a more faithful adaptation of the novel. Not only do Edgar Wright and company deliver big, and they go on about talking about how it's more faithful to the original thing. Thomas wrote, The Running Man is absolutely fantastic. Edgar Wright and Glenn Powell deliver a nonstop thrill ride with a killer supporting cast and soundtrack that I've been dying to see again. Powell has officially cemented himself as Hollywood's next leading man. And it went on and on and on. It just... Look, I loved the preview and the presentation they showed us at CinemaCon. Loved it. I've only gotten more excited from the trailers. I think the trailers have been absolutely banger. Edgar Wright is one of everybody's favorite directors for a reason. He's absolutely fantastic. Glenn Powell is a big emerging star. And the promise, Rob, of this thing being a more faithful adaptation of the novel than the bigger stretch of what Arnold's film was. This just looks great to me. I love hearing this. And I talked to another person who saw a screening of it last night. It wasn't the UK one. Talked to another person who just said, John, you're going to love this film. You're going to absolutely love it. And I loved hearing that, of course. Anyway, Rob, you're hearing the first reactions. Anything standing out to you from what you're hearing? Are you surprised? Where's your enthusiasm level like right now for The Running Man? What do you think?
Oh, like you pointed out, since CinemaCon, I've been deliriously excited to see this movie. I think Edgar Wright is the perfect pairing with this material because you were talking about the other day about Baby Driver. If you look at that, the action in that film, especially a lot of the car work in that movie, is amazing. I've loved Edgar Wright all the way back to the TV series Spaced, but Shaun of the Dead on. And this book, I mean, the Bachman books actually mean something to me because I was reading them when they were first coming out before Bachman was revealed to be Stephen King. And I love this book. And it had a pretty shocking ending that sort of in our post 9/11 world, I'm wondering how it's going to play out in the movie. But I can't wait to see this movie. It looks incredible. Every time I see clips from it, it just seems to be getting better and better for me. The cast is incredible. There's nothing about this movie that isn't exciting to me. And to hear like you said, to hear the word Verhoeven, and Paul Verhoeven's another favorite director of mine, and what he did with RoboCop, Starship Troopers, Total Recall, and Basic Instinct, his sensibility combined with Edgar Wright's sensibility, I can't wait, dude. I really, the end of this year is providing some really fun films to watch, especially for we imagination connoisseurs who like our science fiction, fantasy, and horror. It's pretty exciting.
You know, it's going to be interesting to see how people react to, and whether or not they're going to be able to know this or keep this in mind. Much like The Long Walk, which, by the way, I know so many of you guys didn't see it. It's really good. You should check it out.
It's really good.
But whereas The Long Walk feels like it's written for today, but you got to remember it was written decades ago. The Running Man, this is the one thing I like. Some other reviewers kind of alluded to this, but the guy I talked to last night was saying, like, some people are going to watch this feeling like they wrote specific things just for today, but it was actually written decades ago.
Came out in 82.
Came out in 82, and it's the themes and stuff like that eerily feel much like The Long Walk, like it is actually written, that somebody wrote this today as a commentary on today.
Well,
no, this was written decades ago.
Same thing is the case with One Battle After Another. You know, people are saying that, you know, oh, One Battle After Another is this leftist treatise or something. But all of these films, I mean, we're dystopian movies, science fiction dystopias and whatever, they were relevant for a reason. And our world is emulating what writers, what fantasists were warning about 50 years ago. So the fact that we've reached these points where people are like pointing and going, oh, this movie seems to be ripped out of the headlines, that's kind of an indictment of our society today, not the movies. Because the movies are the ones that are reiterating these cautionary tales. Because when you read The Running Man, what it said about the media, the fact that it was a TV show that everybody watched, you know, the Big Hunt or whatever. And of course, that's also a throwback to movies like The 10th Victim from the 60s, or Death Race, Paul Bartel's Death Race 2000, where everybody watched the Transcontinental Road Race, where the drivers actually got points for killing people. You know, these are prophetic things that have been recycled, and The Running Man is the latest. And the first Running Man movie did not represent the novel at all. But this totally seems to, and I can't wait, John. I can't wait.
Yeah, listen, if we can get 2 weeks in a row back to back where we get movies that we absolutely have a blast watching. Predator Badlands, check. If we can now get this week with The Running Man, it's going to be a good couple of weeks.
Dude, we're like 6 weeks away from the new Avatar movie.
Yeah. And probably an Avengers Endgame first look.
Yeah, man.
With the Avatar film.
Good at the end of this year.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about the review, the first reactions, I should say, coming out for the brand new The Running Man, directed by Edgar Wright, starring Glenn Powell? I've been thinking for a long time, this thing looks absolutely bonkers good. I cannot wait to see this. What do you think about the first reactions we're hearing? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. We've come now to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we get to those, we're going to bid good afternoon, good week, actually, To writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, sir. We will talk to you again next week, my friend.
All right, I will see you then. And boy, I can't wait to hear about your new travels across the United States.
Yeah, that's going to be fun once we get around to doing that. Anyway, have a great weekend, Rob. I'll talk to you later.
All right, I'll see you later.
Robert Meyer Burnett, ladies and gentlemen. And all right, guys, with that all out of the way, let's now get over to your topics and questions that you guys have sent in. And we're going to start things off here with Lord Doorknob. I love that username. Wrote, what's more likely to happen in the movies, if at all? DC adapting the Injustice storyline or Marvel adapting World War Hulk storyline? All right, I don't think either. I mean, you can do them in animated form. They've kind of already done World War Hulk in animated form. But anyway. But which one is more likely? I think the more likely one is Marvel doing World War Hulk, because Marvel is like 15, 16, 17, 18 years into making their cinematic universe, right? If Marvel was just at the beginning of making their cinematic universe, I would say, man, it's going to take, you got to do a lot of other stuff first before you get to a World War Hulk. Injustice is a story, by the way, I think one of the best comic stories in decades. I really do. I think it might be my favorite comic book story, gosh, since Age of Apocalypse. Anyway, but it's a story that requires a lot of inside baseball. It requires a lot of groundwork. It requires a lot of understanding pre-existingly of a lot of these characters and everything. So if they were ever to go around to it, we're years and years and years and years and years away from it. Whereas I think that a World War Hulk movie would be closer. So for the record, I don't think either are happening, but the one I think would probably be more likely would probably be the World War Hulk one. All right. Next up, we got X-Men Superfan writes, I had a friend, now former, oh dear, who said that Cesar Romero was the worst Joker, even worse than Leto, because he had no value on the fact that he didn't see the nuance nor the reason. How can I make them see? Number one, it is not your job to make somebody else appreciate a piece of art the same way you do. Art hits us differently. They see art. The person next to you sees art differently than the way you see it. So, number one, it's not your job to make them see it. And number two, it's not your place to make them see it. I would say this. If you're looking at Cesar Romero's Joker through the lens of Zack Snyder's DCEU or through the lens of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight universe, then yeah, for sure, Cesar Romero's Joker comes across as utterly stupid and ridiculous. But every Joker that we've seen on screen has been a byproduct of the context in which they're used. Cesar Romero's Joker was perfect for that Batman series. Jared Leto's Joker wouldn't have worked in that series. Heath Ledger's Joker wouldn't have worked in that series. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker wouldn't have worked in that series. Cesar Romero's Joker was a perfect manifestation of that character in the context of that specific show. And so I think it's magnificent, but again, it is not your job to make somebody else see it. All right. Thanks for that, X-Men Superfan. Al writes, John, I want to politely ask, why do you always mention K-pop demon hunters when bringing up the success of anime? Anime equals Japan cartoon, which isn't K-pop. It's not actually, that's not the definition anymore. Maybe it was at one point, but the way a lot of places now define anime is either animation. By the way, it's not even a style. Anime isn't even a style properly. The real original definition of the word anime was simply any kind of animation coming out of Japan. But the last decade or so, it's really been expanded to be any animation that either comes out of Japan or was clearly influenced by Japanese animation. Any animation coming out of Japan or is clearly influenced and inspired by animation coming out of Japan. So yeah, when anime comes up, clearly not made over there, but I think it's fair to kind of throw that in the conversation, because that K-pop Demon Hunters is clearly heavily inspired and kind of modeled after, various forms of Asian animation. And so that's why I think it's fair to include that in there. That's just me. And it's fair if you don't. It's totally fair if you don't, but you're asking me why I do, and that's why I do. All right. Next up, X-Men Superfan is back writing, what do you think is the appeal of Sofia Coppola as a director? She tells great, intimate, heartfelt stories. She tells stories of characters, and she manifests characters in such a way that you feel like you've actually known that character and that word. Now, listen, I'm not saying I like every movie that Sofia Coppola has directed at all, not in the least, but she has such a way of just developing rich characters. And you could see the influence her father has on her in her work as well. So that's just the way I kind of see it. All right, next up, Francois Clark writes, checking out Nuremberg tonight. I cannot wait. That's the new Russell Crowe film. Have you heard good things? I have. I've heard Oscar buzz for it. Love the show. Bring on the filthy. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet myself. I'm definitely going to. I am a sucker for movies that are kind of based in that era with that subject matter, and you've got one of my all-time favorite actors starring it, and I'm already hearing Oscar buzz for Russell Crowe for it. I can't wait to see it, so let me know what you thought of it if you're going to see it tonight. All right, next up, Espinoza writes, one of two. Hey, John, first super chat. Thank you for sending in your first one. I appreciate that, man. Last week, you brought up Taylor Swift's music video, The Fate of Ophelia. Would like to hear your full review. Why would you want a full review of a music video? Anyway, and if you thought that video was amazing, just wait till she makes her feature directorial debut that everyone completely forgot about. I would say slow your roll a little bit here. Making a good music video is not the same as making a good movie. It's not the same. A lot of music video directors have moved on to try to making movies, and they've done a bad job of it. Some music video directors have gone on to have very successful filmmaking careers. Absolutely. But a lot of them haven't. So just because you like the music video of Ophelia, don't start thinking, wait till you see her film directorial debut. Just take a breath before you're doing that. That said, the video is mind-blowingly good. From an artistic point of view, you don't have to be a Taylor Swift fan to, from an artistic point of view, sit down and watch that video and be absolutely floored by it. I watched a reaction video by a professional Hollywood film editor who broke down, and he was just like, whole time his eyes were like dough, like the editing in the film, the creative choices in it are just all, and it was all by design, are phenomenal. Does that mean Taylor Swift's going to do a good job directing a movie? Not necessarily, but it's a good sign. It's a good sign. But again, full credit where it's due, that music video is one of the more beautifully artistically done music videos I've seen in a long time. And she did direct it. And so kudos to her for that. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to a live action, but it's a good sign. So we'll see. All right. Thanks for sending that in, Espinoza. Appreciate it. All right. Clement writes, John, what brand of 100-inch TV do you use for the home theater? Looking to buy one for my home theater. Any recommendations? I'm going to say something that cinephiles and home video geeks are absolutely going to hate. It doesn't matter. They're all good today. Seriously. I got a buddy who's got an 85-inch Hisense. It looks great. Sitting at the back of his living room watching the TV, it looks great. I've got a 100-inch Samsung. Looks great. Looks amazing. It's just the reality today. They all look great. They all look great. So I would honestly say, just make sure it's at least 4K, which they all are now. Read some reviews. If it's $150, then it's probably, a scam. But really, any of the major manufacturers now making these 85, 100-inch, and I've got the 100-inch one. They just all look spectacular. I think a lot of people, if you're sitting more than 5 or 6 feet away, are going to be hard pressed to tell the difference between any of them. Like, honestly. So I think you're going to be good with just about anyone you get. I can only speak for myself, but I think you're going to be good with just about anyone you get. And again, I know there's going to be some hardcore home theater tech guys are going to be up in arms about that. I'm just telling you my experience. I think they just all look great today. Gone are the days where you had those big cube TVs and like one could look significantly crappier than the other. Today, they just all look great. They all look great. Anyway. All right. Next up. Hope that helps, Clement. Al writes, which will make more money, Michael or Mario Galaxy? I think Michael, because I think Mario Galaxy is going to make a lot of money. I don't think it makes $1 billion. I do think Michael will. Look, bottom line is they're both going to make a ton of money and one could make more than the other. My guess will be that Michael will make more than Mario Galaxy, but they'll both do incredibly well. Sveen writes, have you seen the trailer for Fackham Hall? I have not, but I've heard about this. British spoof movie that parodies Downton Abbey and murder mysteries. By the way, it's not Downtown Abbey. It's Downton Abbey. And murder mysteries. Looks hilarious. It's written by Jim Carr, if you are familiar with him. Yeah, again, I've heard about this, but I have not seen the trailer for it yet myself. I am curious about it. Spoofs do not have a great track record the last decade or so. But this sounds interesting, so I will go check out the trailer at some point here, because it does at least sound interesting. All right. Next up, we got X-Men Superfan again. Emma Frost writes, what will it take for DC to realize that we need a Wonder Woman TV show? Oh, we don't need a Wonder Woman TV show. That's your answer. We don't need a Wonder Woman TV show at all. Anyway, and also that she can be extremely profitable. It feels like Wonder Woman fans get next to nothing. Well, I mean, hold on a second. Wonder Woman got 2 big feature-length films. 2 of them. There's a lot of fans of a lot of different comic book characters that would really be insulted by what you just said, saying, why doesn't Wonder Woman get any attention? Tell that to Martian Manhunter fans. Tell that to Nightwing fans. Tell that to, hell, just any of them. Wonder Woman got 2 feature-length films and featured heavily in Batman vs. Superman and featured heavily in Justice League. Wonder Woman's gotten a lot of attention and gotten a lot of roses. Okay, let's be clear about that. I disagree with you, though, that we need a Wonder Woman TV show. I don't believe we need a Wonder Woman TV show at all. As a matter of fact, being one of the trinity of DC, I think they should actively stay away from giving her a TV show. I believe giving a character a TV show devalues the character. I really do. I think that happened with Superman. I know there's a lot of fans out there who are fans of Superman and Lois, and it's a good show. But when you throw a character just in a TV show, I think it devalues it. I think it devalues the character. I think Wonder Woman should be exclusively for the big screen, and we're getting a Wonder Woman movie. And by the way, James Gunn did say they are working on that Themyscira show. I don't think it's not going to feature Wonder Woman, but it's not going to feature Wonder Woman, but it's Wonder Woman connected. But I think Wonder Woman being part of the Trinity, I think you save Wonder Woman for the big screen, as they have done already. And I really do not think that a Wonder Woman, I don't think you should tell drawn out, watered down stories over the course of television. I think you should come up with great movie stories for her and keep her there. That's just my thought on it. Now, clearly you and probably some other fans would like to see a show, and I don't fault you for that. But since you're asking me, I got to give you my honest opinion. I don't think Wonder Woman should be a TV show at all. I think that devalues the character, and I don't really think there's a need for one, personally. But I am looking forward to that Themyscira series, if they ever get around to it. All right. Next up, Renetta writes, a belated but big old shout out to my heart, my son Isaiah. He celebrated 15 trips around the sun on November 4th and been acting grown ever since. Well, happy belated birthday to your son. Did you say his name? Yes, Isaiah. Happy belated birthday to Isaiah. I hope your son had a wonderful birthday and a wonderful year ahead of him. And that's just such a sweet message, Renetta. Thank you for sending that in. And hopefully your son is watching this. All right. Thanks, Renetta. All right. X-Men superfan Emma Frost writes, what, in your opinion, is Marilyn Monroe's best comedy? Gentlemen, I was going to say Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, How to Marry a Millionaire, or Some Like It Hot. I'm going to give you a hot take. I'm not the biggest fan of Some Like It Hot. I was late to some, well, I mean, these were all movies before my time, so I was late to all of them, but I only saw Some Like It Hot for the first time, I think when I was at AMC. And everybody loves it, right? Everybody loves it. And don't get me wrong, I like it. I do. I like it. But I don't know, maybe I just overhyped it in my head. Maybe I put the pussy on a pedestal. You know what they say, they say in 40-Year-Old Virgin, pussalaya. You just built it up so high, you put it up on this pedestal. Maybe that's what I did with that movie. And so I liked it, but I didn't like it nearly as much as all my friends absolutely adore it. But so I'm just letting you in this little thing of me. That's me. It was pussalaya for me. All right. If you don't know the 40-Year-Old Virgin, you have no idea what I'm talking about. It's a 40-Year-Old Virgin reference. Anyway, next up. Andy writes, Disney gave me false advertisement. Predator Badlands is supposed to have the most awful predators on the planet, but I didn't see any Epstein clients. I didn't know where you were going with that, but I'm bummed. Thank you, Andy. All right, next up. Blackjack Hooligan writes, what if Galactus was sent to Doom's Earth at the end of F4, destroyed his world, and Doom tracks where he was from, keying into how he finds Franklin? Well, that's not how that bridge worked in Fantastic Four. The bridge that they built in Fantastic Four wasn't a multi-dimensional thing. It was literally a physical distance thing. If I'm remembering it right, I saw the movie like 4 times, but it's a physical distance thing. I don't think it's a multi-dimensional thing. So unless I'm not remembering it right, but I think I remember it literally being a physical distance thing, not a multi-dimensional thing. So that wouldn't be the way that it plays out. Now I'm being told in the live chat that I'm right, that is what it was. Yeah. So, so that's not the way they're doing it. That's not to say though, let me rephrase. We're going to see Galactus again, but it's going to be a different version of Galactus. It might still be Innocent. Is that the name of the actor? Might still be him, might still look exactly the same, all that kind of stuff, but it's not going to be the literal same Galactus that we saw in Fantastic Four. And a different Silver Surfer. All right. Next up. Fabio Fernandez sends in a $25 super chat. Thank you, Fabio, for supporting our channel on that level, man. Really appreciate that. By the way, just so you know, everybody, I am turning off the super chats. Because I don't want to be going too long here. Just give me a second as I shut them down. Don't worry, we still got a bunch of questions to go. I'll get through them all. I just had to turn it off at this point. Hey, John, says Fabio. I bought the ticket for the Wicked screening here in Orlando. Nice. I look forward to seeing you there. It will be nice to finally meet you. I follow you since your Collider years when I was living in Brazil. I'm now living almost 4 years in the US. Well, thank you so much, man. I'll look forward to meeting everybody down in Orlando. I've only ever been to Orlando once. That was during Star Wars Celebration a bunch of years ago. And I had a blast. I had a blast in Orlando. I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you so much for coming out. It's going to be nice to meet you too. And thank you for watching the show for that long, man. I really appreciate it. All right. And thank you again for tipping in that much and supporting us on that level. Really appreciate that, man. Fabio also writes, it will be a sweaty day, quoting the late, great John Schnepp. Yeah. Man, it would be so cool if I could have brought Schnepp on these things. It would have been really cool. Let me tell you a quick John Schnepp story. Still, you might have heard me tell it before, but it's still one of my favorite. So, as our offices were like right beside like the second or third busiest movie theater in America, the AMC Burbank 16. And there's a whole bunch of restaurants around it. At least 5 times a week, me, Dennis, Christian, Schnepp, others who work there too, we'd just be walking around down there, going to lunch somewhere, coming back, going to see a movie at the AMC Burbank 16 or something. And we would often get stopped by fans of the show. You say, hey, been watching the show, like the show, all that kind of stuff. It was great. But I'll never forget this one time. This one kid stopped us and like just turned it, and you could tell was just in awe of John Schnepp. And said, "Oh, Schnepp, man, I've been watching you on the show for like 2 years now." And this is what he said. "I really love your character on the show. I really love your character on the show." And I just think the kid was so excited. He didn't even realize how he was putting his words together, right? And I just remember like Dennis was there with me too. And just Dennis and I just started laughing so hard. And I don't even think the kid realized we were like, because again, the kid was just excited. He was totally excited. He was clearly a big John Schnepp fan and was just really excited. And I just don't think he structured his words. I really love your character on the show. Schnepp would talk about that experience for the rest of his life. Like that would often come up about, yeah, I'm a really good character on the show. So anyway, yeah, that was one of my favorites there. All right. Pablo Zunguita writes, "Hey, John, have you played Split Fiction yet?" I have not played it yet. It's funny you mention that because we pulled it out. We've got it sitting literally on our entertainment unit under the TV right beside our Nintendo Switch. And we were just literally, Ann and I, driving from the movie, or not yesterday, 2 days ago, when we were driving back from the movie from seeing Predator. We're talking about, by the way, Split Fiction is now getting Game of the Year buzz. So we got to get on playing that. And so we're going to start playing it here. We just haven't had time to play any games, but we're going to get on soon and we've got it set out for ourselves. All right. Christopher Brickner writes, "I know you're excited for Starfighter, but it's Lucasfilm. I wouldn't be shocked if you think Starfighter is worse than Rise of Skywalker. Hopefully not." Well, it would have to be pretty bad to be worse than the Rise of Skywalker, but it's possible. But here's the difference. They've got a great writer and a great director and an incredible cast that could have taken or turned down the movie because they got other things. Like you literally have a multi-time Oscar nominated Amy Adams. You got Aaron Pierre right now who can go and do anything he wants to do. You got Ryan Gosling who can do any project he wants to do. So you've got a terrific director, terrific writer, great cast who could have easily said yes or no to doing this. And yeah, it's Lucasfilm, the studio that gave us Andor, the single best thing Star Wars has ever made since the original trilogy. Like there's the original trilogy and then there's Andor. Nothing else touches it. So it's that as well. Now it's also the studio that gave us The Rise of Skywalker, which is absolutely putrid. But I'm willing to put money that this one's going to be a lot better. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be Andor quality, but I'm willing to put money that this one will be a lot better. All right. Let's see here. What's next? Thanks, Christopher. Amin writes, "Film 1, Michael. Film 2, Michael, the King of Pop, or simply King of Pop. I think that would fit perfectly, better than just adding part 2. I don't think you call it King of Pop. I think that title would be off-putting to some people, even though completely appropriate. Yeah, I think it's going to be Michael Part 2. I think it's really just going to be Michael Part 2. I really do. Is that a big flashy title? No, but it is what it is. I think it's just going to be Michael Part 2. I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be Michael Part 2. Actually, that's a good one. I mean, it's just following, or Michael. So first one might be called Michael. Second one might be called Michael Jackson. But then that could become a little bit confusing. I think they're going to, I have no insider information of this. I'm just guessing it's going to be Michael Part 2. That's what I think they're going to do. All right. Next up, X-Men Superfan writes in, favorite musical tragedy and favorite musical comedy. Favorite musical tragedy is easy. It's one of my favorite musicals anyway, which is Moulin Rouge, which truly is a tragedy. Like it really, really is a complete tragedy. Favorite musical comedy, I probably have to say Seymour, Little Shop of Horrors. Little Shop of Horrors, I probably have to say, is my favorite. It's not near the top of my overall favorite musicals of all time, but it's if you're going to specify musical comedies, yeah, I think I'd have to say Little Shop of Horrors would be up there. All right, let's see here. Next up, we've got Rod X, who writes, A-list saved my life. Walking 14 miles round trip every movie this year helped me to see 115 films and drop 270 pounds. What? Oh, no. Dropping from 270 pounds to 178 pounds, losing 92 pounds. That is amazing, Rod. That ain't easy. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because straight up, walking is one of the best weight loss exercises there is. Like, I remember one of the key things for me for losing like 30 pounds was just, I adopted the whole get 10,000 steps a day. One of the main reasons I wear a smartwatch is simply to have the step counter turned on. Anyway, to have my step counter, like get 10,000 steps a day. 14 miles, you're talking about, what are you talking about there? 7 miles. You're talking about, that's 7 miles. Like 10,000 steps is about 5 miles a day. And I make sure I get my 10,000 in every day. But like, that's like an extra 2 miles on top of that. That's awesome, man. That's great to hear. And that takes commitment. So good on you for that, my man. All right. Next up, Christopher Brickner writes, I was mostly joking about Starfighter being worse than episode 9. It would be hard to be worse than episode 9. But how bad would it be for Star Wars if Starfighter is worse than Rise of Skywalker? Well, if anything they put out is worse than Rise of Skywalker, it's bad. Because Rise of Skywalker is terrible. Rise of Skywalker is terrible. And I say this as somebody who likes some of the stuff in the sequel trilogy. Like, I love The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi has some things I really like in it, some things I really dislike in it. But Rise of Skywalker was just, oh my God. Oh my God, don't even get me going on that. But whether it's Starfighter or Mandalorian and Grogu or whatever else, like putting out anything as bad, I guess I could take these headphones off now. Rob's not with me. Anything that's as bad or worse than The Rise of Skywalker would be very, very bad for Lucasfilm. Very bad for Lucas. You can't afford to put out anything. It's okay if you put out a movie that's not so good, but you can't put out a movie that's as bad as The Rise of Skywalker. You can't do it. All right. Next up, X-Men Superfan writes in again. Why does Tom Curry succeed in great horror roles? Do you mean Tim Curry? Like Frankenfurter and the Ickery? Yeah, you mean Tim Curry. By the way, one of my favorite Tim Curry roles was as he was Cardinal Vishnu. I think he was Cardinal Vishnu. Yeah, in The Three Musketeers. I don't know why I love him in that role, but I don't know. He's got no. My favorite Tim Curry role is in the Sylvester Stallone movie Oscar. If you haven't seen Oscar, it's one of my favorite comedies. Oscar is just an amazing movie. And he plays Professor Poole in Oscar, and he's just awesome in that. But I think one of the reasons Tim Curry can play really well with like either horror or villainous roles, he's got a way to contort his face to give like one of the most evil, charming smiles, right? And his voice and his inflection. I don't know. He can do more than just that. But he's just so good at it that, that's just, I think his ability to do that with his performance is one of the things that really stands out. Okay. Next up, got a few more here. Wolfmots writes, hey, John, have you seen the Wolverine video game trailer? Yes. If so, what are your thoughts? Looks pretty good. I'm not going to get terribly excited. Video game trailers. I mean, even with movies, great trailers can have bad movies, right? But I often find with video game trailers, they're so disconnected from the game themselves that often it can mean absolutely nothing. Sometimes it does. But anyway, the trailer looks really good, but I'm not going to get terribly excited about it until I actually get my hands on it and play it a little bit. But the trailer looks good. It really does. All right. Wolfmots also writes in again, with Doom's entrance comparable to Thanos, Thanos is beating Hulk. What if it's him killing the Council of Kangs? No loose ends for Marvel, and it has a big impact. It doesn't have any impact. Has no impact. Kang never amounted to anything. We saw one Kang get killed by Sylvie. and another Kang defeated by Ant-Man. It has no impact at all. And by the way, the Kangs are not a loose end. At the end of Loki season 2, they wrapped it up. The TVA was now repurposed to hunting down and clearing out the remaining Kang variants. That's right in Loki season 2. That wraps it up. There are literally no loose ends. They're done. And so I think if you want to have if you want Doom to make an impact, and I'm not saying they're going to do this, but if this is what you want, then you got to have him fight somebody of note. Kang got killed by Sylvie and Ant-Man. You got to have him fight somebody on the level of a Captain Marvel, or somebody on the level of a Sentry, or you don't want to do Hulk again because you already did Hulk with Thanos, but something or somebody on that kind of level. Kang should have been a lot more daunting, but they just botched the character so much that it wouldn't really mean anything, in my opinion, to be honest. All right, thanks for the question, Wolf. Appreciate that, man. All right, Wolf also writes in, with how much you love Knives Out, have you seen Poker Face on Peacock? Just finished season 1 last night, and it's so good. Ryan Johnson constantly flips the premise. She's a living lie detector on its head in new and very creative ways. Funny, charming, and very Encyclopedia Brown. I have not seen it. I've wanted to watch it. My wife has seen it, and she really likes it, and she's really encouraged me to watch it, and I'm very interested in it. I just never gotten around to it. There's a number of really good looking shows out there that I've just not had the time to get around to. But that one, the premise has always intrigued me. The human living lie detector aspect of it. So much about it intrigues me. I've just never gotten around to watching it, but I will at some point. I really, really will at some point. All right. Let's see. Next up, X-Men Superfan writes, do you think Matt Bomer and Jonathan Bailey would make a good Apollo and Midnighter? X-actor and X-role. Look, we never know how a screenwriter will write characters. Joker's been done 5 different times, and he's been done completely differently all 5 different times, and therefore a different actor was a good fit for it. So X-actor and X-role, no idea. Look, all I ever care about when asking about should X-actor be an X-role, the only question I have is, well, is X-actor a good actor? If they're a good actor, then we're fine. Those are 2 talented actors, so they could work out well if the script was right. But again, we'll never know because we won't see that. But yeah, in theory, sure, why not? All right. Next up, Bobby writes, sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate that, man. Hey, John, longtime fan and listen to the podcast on a daily basis. Thank you so much. I'm sending this to ask for you to pray for me. I'm going to try my best not to see anything from Doomsday till I'm in my theater seat watching the movie. Wish me luck. Impossible. And now, don't get me wrong. You have the choice to sit down and press play on a trailer, all that. But there's just going to be, if your mission is to see nothing, it's impossible. Because it's not just trailers on YouTube and trailers in theaters. It's going to be billboards. It's going to be fast food restaurant ads. It's just not possible. Now, you can avoid as much as possible. You can do your best to limit how much you see. Right? You can try to limit it, but completely avoid it unless you literally unplug your internet, close your doors and windows, and not move from your house for a year. Sorry to tell you, you're going to see something. You're going to see something. It's just inevitable, man. It's inevitable, unfortunately. But a noble endeavor nonetheless, Bobby. All right, next up. Oh, we already did Wolf Motts there. Cam Dice writes, what will be the highest grossing horror film of 2026? I have no idea. I don't know off the top of my head which the movies are. Guys, if you're going to write in questions like that, you have to give me a list because I'm terrible with movie release dates. I don't walk around with a movie calendar in my head. I've said this for 10 years now. I'm no good at this. So I have no idea what horror movies even come out in 2026 off the top of my head. So unfortunately, I can't give you a guess there. All right. And the final one today comes to us from Will. And Will writes, with the Warner Brothers Discovery sale deadline set for Christmas, how long do you think it will take to get the sale approved and start affecting DC studios? Woo! Now remember, it's not that it's going to be finalized. What David Zaslav said was that that's their deadline for knowing what they're going to do. Right? That doesn't mean there's going to be a sale by Christmas. It just means Warner Brothers Discovery will decide who they want to sell it to, or if they're going to split the company into. That's just the deadline for them telling us what their plan is. After that, it could be, years. And then once a sale happens, it will take another year and a half, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years before we see and feel the impact on any DC property. Remember, whenever you've got these big major changes at the top, it always takes 1, 2, 3 years before we actually see the results of it and feel the impact of it on screen. So we're quite a ways away from it. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. A big special thanks, of course, to Robert Meyer Burnett. Guys, it's the end of the week. Have a fabulous weekend. And listen. I didn't want to do this at the beginning, but I want to touch on something here just for a second, okay? Let me touch on something for a second. Even for many of you who are not sports fans, you guys probably heard that one of the players on the Dallas Cowboys died the other day. And I heard about that yesterday. I'm like, oh no, I didn't know what happened. And it wasn't until last night that I found out that he died via suicide. He took his own life. And it was really shocking because I just watched him on Monday Night Football after a blocked punt, recovering the blocked punt in the end zone and scoring a touchdown. Not something defensive players get to do a lot. And he's celebrating in the end zone with a touchdown, maybe one of the highlights of his career is in the Dallas Cowboy uniform and celebrating this touchdown he had. And then a couple of days later, finding out that he took his own life. I bring that up to say this, guys. I've had a couple of people in my life commit suicide. You guys know this, over the course of my lifetime. And it is so ingrained in us when people ask, hey, how you doing? To say, oh, we're good. Things are good. I'm fine, blah, blah. And sometimes we're not. Sometimes things are hard. Sometimes we're facing things that are challenging. Can I plead with all of us? Can I plead with all of us that even if you think you're okay, if you're under a lot of stress or a lot of weight, or there are things really holding you down, or there things just don't feel right, talk to somebody, a friend, a sibling, a parent, a clergy person, a counselor, therapist. Talk to somebody, please. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. And so this stuff happens too much. And I just really want to encourage anybody out there who's wrestling with a lot of stuff. Don't wait till it gets bad. Talk to people about it. Again, I'm no therapist. I'm no professional, but I know it's important to talk it out. And so please, for anybody out there who's ever feeling that kind of stuff, don't wait till it gets so heavy that you can't even bear it anymore. Talk to people about it. Please do. That's my begging and pleading for the day. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for our show today. Sorry to end it on such a heavy note. I just really felt like I wanted to say something. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Hopefully it's spent doing something fun or some much needed relaxation. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. My name's John Campea, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.